In today's video, we are going to be playing Pioneer, which was Magic's most recent Pro Tour format. People have been trying to find out the best mid-range list. While many people think Rakdos is the best mid-range list, in the recent Pro Tour, out of the 33 decks, the deck only had a 46.4% win percentage. And when looking at the decks that did have a positive win rate in the format, they are almost all blue decks. That's why we're going to be trying out Dimir mid-range. We get some extremely powerful cards. The most notable of these is Ledger Shredder. This is a 2-mana 1/3 flyer that reads, whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, Ledger Shredder connives. Even at face value, this card's super powerful because you can discard your redundant lands, find lands, or just get rid of spells you don't need. But in addition to this deck having 3 Tenacious Underdogs and Tasigur, having cards in the graveyard is actually relevant. While this deck doesn't run Fable, which is one of the most powerful cards in Pioneer, we do get a 3-mana Planeswalker that is arguably just as good. This Planeswalker is Kaito Shizuki. It's a 3 loyalty Planeswalker that reads, +1 is draw a card, then discard a card unless you attack with the creature this turn. -2, create a 1/1 ninja creature token with this creature can't be blocked. And -7, you get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a blue or black creature card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. While the -2 is undoubtedly a little underpowered, the +1 is where this deck shines. With this deck running 15 creatures, 2 Mutavolts, 2 Hive of the Eye Tyrants, and 1 Hall of the Storm Giants, there is no shortage for attacking creatures, meaning that this is just a +1 draw a card more often than not. And if you're looking for a creature to attack with, you just downtick. And you have almost no fear of this Planeswalker dying because it protects itself on the turn you play it. So in just a second, we are going to be taking this list into a League of Pioneer and seeing how powerful it is. We're on the draw for match number 1 and a little 2 land heavy, so more. 6 is definitely better, so we will keep and put back an Underground River. Opponent leads on Takanuma into Witch's Oven. We find a Mutavault. We'll just play Watery Grave tapped. Out of Den of the Bugbear. Looks like we're up against Rakdos Sacrifice. Oh, another Mutavault. Play our Darkslook Shores. Opponent pays out a Fable. We draw Tasker, so we'll play Mutavault and play out Kaido. I think we're just going to downtick and get a 1/1. They discard 2 Fatal Pushes from the Fable, and they find a Mayhem Devil. They attack us for 2, no blocks, and they found a cat, playing our Ninja, and they can also kill our Kaito in the upkeep, and they do that. Find a Misery Shadow, probably the best card that we could have asked for. Play Urborg and cast Misery Shadow. Opponent flips Fable and then claims our Misery Shadow. Yep, and we're just too far behind here. They have way too much on the board. We don't have any removal spells, so we'll scoop them up into sideboarding. We'll trim on our bad removal spells and an Underdog for some Grave Hate and some board wipes. Game 2, our 7 is keepable. We'll go turn 1 Shores, holding up Opt or Push. It goes Blood Crypt into Duress. In response, I'll Opt. Finding a Mutavault, we'll keep that one. Opponent takes our Kaido. We find a Ledger Shredder, we'll just cast that now. Cast an Oven and play a tap Blood Crypt. We'll shock in our Watery Grave, conceal our hand a little bit. Back in for 1. We'll place a Fable and we will make disappear that. I'll take a Takanuma, we'll play our land and cast a Shieldred. Back in for 1. Shieldred triggers, they're down to 14. And opponent just scoops them up. Let's get into game 3. Game 3, we'll take out Brazen Borrower for some Scarab Gods. Game 3, our hand looks fine, so we'll keep. It goes turn 1 Hive into a Cauldron. We find a Tasigur, we'll shock in a Watery Grave, hold up Opt. Opponent hits us for 1 and does nothing else, so we'll Opt. They play Deadly Dispute in response. Misery Shadow is probably just good enough to keep. Ancient Event also fine draw. We'll cast a Shadow. Opponent slams down a Fable. We draw a land. We'll play a Shipwreck Marsh and hold up Throat and Opt. They discard 2 lands off of a Fable. Go for a Thoughtseize. We'll let that happen. Opponent ends up taking Tasigur. Opponent plays a land and attacks in with their Shaman. And they have a push. We'll just let that happen. They do nothing else, so we'll Opt. Finding a push. We'll keep that and push this Shaman. Drew a Throat, which is pretty good. We'll play our land and pass. Opponent activates Hive. In our Misery Shadow. I think we should just go for Throat this, and we'll also go for the Throat the Reflection. We do not find a land. Would have loved to slam the Scarab God. Opponent plays an Unlucky Witness, plays a Deadly Dispute, finding Thoughtseize and Deadly Dispute off of the Unlucky Witness. They Thoughtseize us, taking Scarab God. We find Kaito, play that, and we'll just tick up here. Event, playing land. Opponent plays out a Mayhem Devil. We draw a land. We'll tick up Kaito. Finding Takanuma. We'll discard this Watery Grave. Cast Event. We cast a Deadly Dispute. Heal 2 to Kaito, and we'll just say even and pass, holding up this Takanuma. I'm gonna place out a Witch's Oven, activates Den, attacks Kaito for 3, and hits us for 1. We find a Scarab God, and I think I am just gonna play that out. They sack their Goblin, getting a food, probably getting back their cat, and I think I will just play out our land. If they end up killing the Scarab God, we will lose, so no reason to play around. Like, we can activate this and get something back. Our goal here is to try and get back Mayhem Devil, because their deck just doesn't work if we have a Mayhem Devil, and they have a Mayhem Devil. They play a Fable. Fable. They pinged us and not Scarab God, which makes me think that this will not die. They sack the food, bringing back Cauldron, backing Cauldron, dealing 1 to us, getting a food, and then looping it again. We're going to be down to 7. So in the upkeep, we will activate Scarab God, grabbing a Mayhem Devil back. Try 1, we do not want a Watery Grave. We'll bottom that. We find a Hall. I guess we are supposed to play out the Hall. And we'll pass the opponent. When it discards a Thoughtseize off of Fable and cast the Claim of the Firstborn, taking our Mayhem Devil, which means that they got us, so we'll concede and we'll get on to match 2. Just a friendly reminder to leave a subscribe. It really helps me out and it's free to do. Match number 2, we're on the draw. Hand is perfectly fine, so we'll keep. When it goes turn 1 land into Sigarda's Aid, we find a Borrower. We'll play our tapped Watery Grave. I'm going to place that Immutavolt into a Colossus Hammer, into a Shadow Spear. We draw a Shipwreck Marsh. We'll just play Immutavolt and hold up Brazen Borrower. When it plays Advantage and activates Mutavolt, and they just attack us for 2. They do nothing else. We'll play Shipwreck Marsh and hold up Borrower plus Opt. When it plays out a Kimba, and they equip Hammer to Kimba, we will cast a Brazen or Petty Theft on the Kimba. This resolves, and that will Opt. Bottom of Swamp, finding a Shredder. Draw a Dog. We will play Shredder, another Shredder, and Connive. Disappears fine. We will bin an Underdog, getting a +1 on our Ledger Shredder. When it plays out a land, activate Mutavolt, and I'm not going to block here. And we just take 2 damage. They play out a Kimba, equipping Hammer to Kimba, and they are tapped out. So if we find anything good, like a push, perfect draw, we will use that. Pushing Kimba, we'll attack in for 2, holding back a blocker. We'll play Kaito, knife twice, card Underdog, and discard this Kaito. Then we'll tick up, draw a card with Kaito, finding Thoughtseize, and pass the turn. They activate Mutavolt, and this time I will block. If they end up equipping it with Hammer, that's okay. And they find a Resolute Strike, which equips Hammer to this, and our Ledger Shredder dies, and a Power Word kill, which sadly cannot kill Mutavolt. We'll attack in with Shredder. We will play out our second Shredder, Thoughtseize the opponent, knife twice, and opponent just scoops him up there. Get on to sideboarding. We'll bring in 2 Extinction Events for Urtai and Shieldred. Guardian Hannah has a good removal spell and some creatures, so we'll keep. Opponent shocks in a Foundry and plays a Skrelv. We draw another Shipwreck Marsh. We'll play one of these tapped for our first play. Opponent just plays land and attacks in for 1. Does nothing else. Kind of make disappear. Dock and Watery Grave and play Ledger Shredder. Opponent just rending volleys our Ledger Shredder. Opponent plays land, attacks for 1. Then plays Kazu's Hole Collector. Find another Ledger Shredder. We'll cast Ledger Shredder and we will push the Skrelv, conniving, and we're discarding Underdog. Opponent has a Sigarda's Aid and doesn't attack with the Troll or the Toll. Find a Mutavolt. We'll play that. Play a Kaito and we'll down tick and just hold back both of our blockers. Opponent plays a Mutavolt and buys Giganta. We find a Power Word kill, back in with our Ninja, pick up with Kaito, drawing a card, finding Opt, play a land and pass. Opponent plays out a Scamp and just passes. We'll Opt on the instep, finding an Opt, we'll keep that, cast another Opt, conniving, and opponent just scoops him up there. Let's get into match number 3. Match 3, we're on the draw and just too many lands, so more. Our 6 is a little bit better. We'll put back the redundant Shieldred. Opponent plays tapped land turn 1. We draw Thoughtseize, we'll Thoughtseize them. Opponent just has a bunch of removal spells and a Cruise and a Consider. We'll just take the Consider. Opponent just plays land. We find a Hive. We'll Thoughtseize them. Opponent found a Consider. They consider in response. They find a land and we'll just take the Treasure Cruise. They play the Otawara. We find our Blue Source. Play that tap. Opponent just passes. Find another land. That untapped. Opponent just plays a tap Spire Bluff. We find a Borrower. Opponent plays out an Arclight Phoenix. We'll just bounce out with Brazen Borrower. Find another land. Play that tapped. Run out another Arclight. They attack us for 3. They shock on a Steam Vents. Cast a Brazen Borrower. We find a Hall of our own. Back in for 3. Opponent just impulses our Brazen Borrower. And we will push their Arclight Phoenix. Opponent plays a tapped land. We find a Watery Grave. We'll activate Mutavolt. Back in for 2. Play Watery Grave tapped. Opponent cast a Galvanic Iteration. Then cast a Charter Course. Drawing 2, discarding Shredder. Then drawing 2 and discarding a Spikefield Hazard. Casting an Opt. Play a tapped land. And run out of Phoenix. We will just Power Word kill that. We draw a land. We will activate our Hive. Opponent cast Lightning Axe. Discarding the Lightning Axe to kill our Hive. And now we'll play at our Shieldred. Opponent cast Galvanic Iteration. Then cast a Pieces of the Puzzle. They find a Lightning Axe and a Cantrip. And then Treasure Cruise and something else. And I think we're just going to be too far behind this game. And then they Treasure Cruise after that. Play another Hall. Get a Phoenix back. Not sure if we have any outs at this point. Find a Ledger Shredder and we'll just concede. Take out our bad removal spells for better grind cards. Game 2, our hand looks okay, so we'll keep. Play Hall and pass. Opponent just plays a Spire Bluff. We top decked an Urborg, so we'll just cast our Underdog. Opponent just considers in response. We top deck a Shieldred. We'll attack in for 3. Play our Shipwreck Marsh. Play out our Lantern, playing around Spell Pierce. Exile in their Consider. Opponent braids our Soul Guide Lantern. We'll cycle it for a card. Find another land. Opponent just plays a land and passes. Find a Thoughtseize. Done that. Opponent's hand's pretty sweet, but we'll just take Pieces. Best card in the hand. Run out our Mutavolt and attack in for 3. We'll find a turn to sneak this under this Disdainful Stroke. On our end step, they Opt, then Consider, and they've been a Mystical Dispute. They play a tap land and run out chart, discarding the Disdainful Stroke. Draw land. We'll attack in for 3. We're going to run out our Shieldred. Not really convinced that it's going to live, but no other play. They cast Consider in response, putting a chart into their yard, and we'll just play our Shipwreck Marsh, bluffing a counterspell spell of some sort. In the upkeep, they cast a Galvanic Iteration. They cast a Lightning Axe, getting it copied and discarding a Spikefield Hazard, killing Shieldred and Underdog. An opponent does nothing else. Drawing a removal spell. We will blitz our Underdog, play our Underground River, animate Mutavolt, back in for 5. And Underdog dying draws us a Shredder. Opponent runs out of Crackling Drake. We will cast a Ledger Shredder, cast a Go for the Throat, Knive, find a Lolith. We'll discard Watery Grave, play Island, animate Mutavolt, and attack in for 2. Opponent casts another Crackling Drake and does nothing else. We find a Kaito. We'll animate Hall, force a trade, get in for 1, play at our Hive, pass it up. Opponent casts a Consider, keeps the card on top, cast a Lightning Axe, join our Ledger Shredder, and we'll bin another Ledger Shredder, cast an Opt, we'll get back Phoenix, they get back Phoenix, we draw a Shredder, we'll cast a Shredder, and we'll cast a Lolith. An opponent's spell pierces us, find an Opt. I think that should be better than a Kaito. We'll pass. Opponent plays an island into a Crackling Drake. We find a land, so we'll cast an Opt, and we'll bin a Kaito. Finding Thoughtseize, we'll fire that off, and we will discard this Watery Grave. They just have 2 Arclight Phoenixes. And we'll activate Hive, attack in for 3, exile a Arclight Phoenix. Actually, we'll discard an Iteration here. I think that's just better. Going the Phoenix. Don't cast out their Arclight Phoenix. Attacks into their Drake. We have the Chump Block. We find a Go for the Throat, which should just be lethal. We'll kill the Phoenix. Blitz out our Underdog. Hope they didn't draw a removal spell. And we win that close one. Let's get into game 3. Game 3, our hand looks great. Find another land. We'll go turn 1 Thoughtseize. I believe Peace is just the best card in their hand, so we'll take that one. They play a tapped Spikefield Hazard, play an Underground River, and cast a Shredder. They played a Canal and Lightning Axe our Ledger Shredder, discarding Crackling Drake, and cast a chart. We draw a Go for the Throat, play our Swamp, and cast Kaito. We'll just downtick. We'll play his land into a Crackling Drake. We draw Mutavolt. We'll attack in, pick up Kaito, and we'll opt before we figure out what we're doing here. Scarab God, I believe that is good enough to keep on top. We'll go for the Throat this Crackling Drake now, and play Underground River. Opponent shocks into Steam Vents, cast into pieces of the puzzle. They cast a Treasure Cruise into a Consider, and they get back a Arclight Phoenix, killing our Kaito. Find an Underdog. We'll play Urborg and cast our Lolith. We'll attack in for 1. Opponent cast a Consider. We keep the card on top. Spikefield Hazard one of our spiders. Spikefield Hazard the other one, and attack down our Lolith. Then play a tapped land. We draw a Dispute. We'll slam our Scarab God. They cast a Mystical Dispute, and we know that they have a Spell Pierce in hand, so I guess we just have to let this go. We'll attack them for 1. Opponent opts. I don't think we're really going to get a better Mystical Dispute target, so we might as well hit this. We cast another Phoenix. They attack in for 6. We find an Otawara. We'll blitz out Underdog. Animate Mutavolt. Attack in for 6. Underdog dies. We get another land. They attack us for 6 and hold up lands. And Shieldred's a good draw, but just not going to do enough here. We don't have any answers for the Arclight Phoenixes, so we are just dead. So we'll get on to match number 4. We're on the play for match number 4, and this hand's perfectly fine. We'll go turn 1 land into a Thoughtseize, and we will just take the Hexproofer. They just play out a land and pass, and we'll just play out Shipwreck Marsh and pass. They draw a Mana Confluence. We will opt. We'll bottom a Shredder, finding Kaito. Find another opt. We'll opt first, playing a land, fighting Shieldred, so we'll just go for the Throat this now. Opponent plays land and buys Giganta. We'll shock and Watery Grave and cast our Shieldred. Opponent found a Glade-covered Scout, plays both of their armors on it, and then a Kai's Ghost Form. Find a Power Word kill. The last card in hand is a Giganta. I think I'm just going to play Kaito and downtick. Hopefully next turn we draw a land, we can Ardawara and Brazen Borrower one of these enchantments and kind of get a blowout. They find a Visitor. I don't think they can attack here. Oh, they do. And we'll just take the 7. We find a Shadow. We will attack in. They're down to 8. We will draw with Kaito. Find another Shadow. We'll play out a Shadow and another Shadow. Shieldred takes them down to 6. And opponent scoops them up. We'll take out our bad creatures for some interesting interaction. Game 2, our hand's perfectly fine. Opponent goes land into Skrelv. Brazen Borrower is a fine draw. We'll just play a land and hold up push. Opponent plays out a Light Pause. Opponent does not attack, so we have to push the Skrelv. Find a Shipwreck Marsh. We'll play Mutavolt and hold up Borrower. Opponent casts a Generous Visitor. Cast an Ethereal Armor on the Visitor, and we will just Brazen Borrower the Light Pause in response. Find a land. Good draw. Now we'll just try and Mystical Dispute the Light Pause. Opponent attacks in for 3. Yep, and we will cast Dispute. Find another land. We'll play Shipwreck Marsh and cast Event. Odd. Opponent just passes. We'll play Shredder and Borrower. We'll connive away the Underdog because we can cast it from our yard. Opponent finds another Light Pause. We find another Underdog. We will opt. Bottom a Takanuma. Find a Make Disappear. We'll cast Underdog. Finding opt. We'll bin the land. Attack in for 5. Opponent finds an Audacity. We'll let that resolve. They find Kaya's Ghost Form. We cast an Ethereal Armor. We connive. Discarding opt. We'll cast Make Disappear on this. Find find a Shieldred. We will just cast that. Attacking with everything. Oh, it's down to 4. We might as well just opt here, get the connive. Should have done that earlier, but that's okay. We discard a dispute, then a land, find another opt, and pass the opponent. They're down to 2. They gotta win this turn. And I find that unlikely. Cast a Sentinel's Eyes, then they cast a Skrill, align us to connive, and they just scoop them up. Get into match number 5. We are on the draw for match number 5, but hand's fine. We'll go turn 1 Spikefield Cave. We'll go turn 1 Shores, holding up opt and push. We just play a tapped Stone Carved Coast. We'll opt. I don't think push is going to be good in this matchup. I believe we're up against Creativity. Thoughtseize is a great draw. We will cast that. Nope, it's just another Is It Phoenix deck. Piece of the Puzzle is by far the best card, so we'll take that. And they just top deck 1 anyways. And they get a Treasure Cruise and a Consider. Okay, we find another Thoughtseize. We'll cast that. We will just take the Treasure Cruise, play our land, and pass. When it plays out a Shredder into a Consider, pinning a Phoenix, land, and playing a land. We will just push the Shredder. We find Urtai, and I don't think we can play anything out here, so we just pass. Or an Ops, puts it to the bottom, and just passes. We find a land, we'll play that, and pass. One just plays land and passes. We find a Shredder, and there's nothing we can do still. We're just so far behind this game. I'm not sure if there's anything we can do to win. One plays a Shredder, they impulse their own Shredder, discard another impulse, cast an opt, and now they get to temporal trespass. We have to counter this, or else we do lose. Opponent gets 2 Phoenixes, access for 6. We draw Thoughtseize, so we will cast our own Shredder, and then a Misery Shadow. They also connive. We find another Borrower, we're bin one of them, and we just pass. Opponent considers, binning a Charter Course, cast Treasure Cruise, we both connive. We'll bin a Thoughtseize, we cast another Consider, binning Hall, into another Consider, binning a Spell Pierce, into another Cruise, they're up to 7 cards in hand, into an Opt, and finish off with a Lightning Axe, killing our Ledger Shredder. They attack us for 9. We draw a Shieldred, and that's just a little too late at this point. Our opponent gets us. Let's go on to sideboarding. Gonna try something different, trying to slow down the game and taking out the fast cards. For game 2, our hand perfectly fine. We'll lead on tapped Watery Grave. It goes land. We'll play out our underdog. They opt in response, bottoming it. They opt again, keeping it on top, docking to Stevens, and Lightning Axe our underdog. Shredder was a great draw, so we will cast that into a Soul Guide Lantern, finding Damping Sphere. We will bin the Watery Grave and exile the Phoenix. I'm gonna cast a Pieces of a Puzzle, finds Arclight Phoenix, 3 lands and Charter Course, so that's only a 1-for-1. We'll play out our Takanuma and cast our Shieldred. Attack the opponent. We'll cast another Pieces. This one finds Chart, Temporal Trespass, Crackling Drake, Fire Impulse, and lands. And they take the Trespass and Fire Impulse. We'll cast an Impulse on our Shredder. We will opt in our upkeep. Maybe we had another opt. Find a Tassiger. We will Thoughtseize opponent. I don't believe any of these really matter. I think the best card here is Crackling Drake, so we'll take one of them. Back in for 4. Play our Damping Sphere, and we'll pop their yard now. Don't cast a Chart and just scoops them up. Our hand's filled with good spells, but 1 land, so we're gonna risk it and keep. It goes turn 1 tap land. We draw Shredder and just go tap land as well. Opponent plays out a land and Charter Courses. They discard Treasure Cruise. We find an opt, so we'll opt looking for a land. We find one, put that into play, and cast the Thoughtseize. And Piece of the Puzzle is by far the best card in the hand, so we'll take that. Opponent considers, keeping the card on top. They play out a land. We find a land. We'll cast Ledger Shredder. They don't have a land. We find a land, so we'll play Mutavolt, cast Shredder, and they play another Dispute on that. That's okay. I think Kaito is the real prize here. I'm gonna cast an opt, keeping the land on top. So we'll opt in their end step. We'll bin a land. Still find a land anyways. Now we'll run out Kaito. We'll -2. Play a tapped land. They kill our token. Now the last 2 cards are Crackling Drake and a Lava Axe or Lightning Axe. They run out Drake. We will dispute that. I think maybe you could argue to not to, but this does not kill dragons. All right, underdog's great draw. We will blitz it. Back for 3. Draw with Kaito. Find a dispute. Play tap land and draw another card off the blitz. Find another underdog. They play it out of Phoenix and attack down Kaito. We draw Shieldred. We will slam that. We'll cast a Lightning Axe, discarding a Phoenix, killing Shieldred. They just play a land. They attack us for 3. You draw an Urborg. We will run out underdog, dash out the other, attack in for 3 and draw a card. We find a Kaito. No attacks in for 3. We find a land. We attack in for 3. Play out Kaito. They draw Spell Pierce. We will pay. We will down tick Kaito. Just speeds up our clock. Play Hive and pass. No attacks us for 3. Now we will go for lethal. Animate Hive. Animate Mutavolt. No plays Ottawara, bouncing our Hive. So in response, we will cast Power Word Kill, killing the Arclight. We're going to continue to hold up a blue source. Attack for 4. Because attacking with Mutavolt also doesn't change the clock. Pick up with Kaito. Found another Mutavolt. We'll just play Hive. And opponent scoops him up. And that's the 3-2 for blue-black mid-range. Overall, I think this deck was super duper cool. There are a few cards in this list I'm not a huge fan of, especially Urtai, or however you say this. I thought Kaito was quite impressive. The Tasker, also not my favorite card. I think I would want to be more of a controlling mid-range list where you have Formic disappears and you just feel like you can kind of go controlling, or you can go mid-range or aggro. You kind of have a few options. I think in the sideboard, I was not a huge fan of Lilith, but everything else felt pretty reasonable, and this list was super duper fun. And if you're interested in playing Pioneer, I would highly recommend this list. This was super duper fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the league. Please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.